Musclebox Radio, episode number 28. So today I am joined by the Professor of Games, Daniel Meek.
Professor. Oh dear. There's a few things that I'm a professor in, but it's definitely not games at the moment.
What are you a professor in, Dan?
Cricket? Mate,
Yeah,
come on.
that's right, blue raspberry, yep.
Your hate for cricket is just ridiculous.
No,
come on.
No, mate, see, it's not even like I hate it. It's just because you play it. And
Oh, okay.
whatever you do, I'm going to give you some abuse about it.
It's a personal attack then.
It is literally a personal attack. I would say
Thanks.
Don't take it personally, but do.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Because I am being personal.
Nice. That's a great way to start the podcast, isn't it? Lovely. Just abuse.
No, it just
Flat out abuse.
No, it just shows our listeners that me and you have a great friendship, basically.
Built on hate and abuse, yeah.
Hey, foundations. Absolute foundations. So how you doing anyway, Dan? You alright?
Yeah, good, mate, yeah. Yeah, progress is going well in the gym, obviously, as you know, as I train with you all the time, but it's, yeah, I've started noticing things are going a lot better, and I'm in a good place at the moment with things, and yeah, everything's going well.
So
team boxer.
That's literally what we're going to talk about today, isn't it? From two guys that have a particularly hard time, or had a hard time at gaining muscle, I would say you and I now know a fair bit about gaining some muscle.
Yeah,
It
definitely. I
doesn't
think
come easy to us, so we have to know about it.
Yeah, and I think we've also made those mistakes as well, because that's why we haven't gained the muscle just yet, in a way, I suppose. And I think some people, we know plenty of them. They only have to look at a weight and they kind of grow, and then not only that, but they have these amazing appetites where they eat shed loads of food, and you can kind of see why they've grown. And unfortunately for us, we have neither of those two things.
Yeah.
So it's quite difficult.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I remember when I first started going to the gym, back when I was like 15, I used to go to a local leisure centre gym, sneak in because I was meant to be 16, but I was like, get away with this, I'm at 15, I want to get some abs. And I would do my push-ups at home, I'd do my sit-ups at home, but then, in looking back, they're probably the only exercises I actually did effectively, and now they're the only muscle groups I actually have. Laid down some solid foundations then, but I literally used to go to the gym, go on the first machine, do 10 reps, go on the next machine, do 10 reps, and then I used to work from the adductor, from the and then to the leg extension, the hamstring curl, a press. I was essentially training full body. I wasn't training hard. This was before the days of like mobile phones, in terms of I think they just had Snake on back then, so you wouldn't really take your phone in the gym to play Snake. But yeah, it just wasn't intense at all, and I probably missed a good portion of my early bird gains, wasted, basically.
Yeah, I'm the same. I definitely missed a huge chunk of that. And I think because I spent the early part of my career working in football, it was always geared around performance, and all the strength training was all around being strong. And then obviously there was hypertrophy work.
The irony there.
Yeah, the irony, exactly, yeah. But I guess a lot of the stuff that I was reading and a lot of the stuff that I was educating myself on was based around being stronger. And I was always that guy who looked stronger than he was. Like I was all right strength wise, like not anything to shout about, mind, but I looked stronger than I was. I was a skinny little runt, and but I actually could move some weight.
You look puny, but you look like you. I mean, you actually lift, like you train, but you still look puny. That's what you're saying, isn't it?
Basically, yeah. It was kind of like, I had a decent weight on the bar whenever I was training, but I never looked like I'd ever set foot in a gym before. And it would just come about just from a fear of getting fat. It was just literally, I thought that if I looked at too much food, I'd get fat. And I was always concerned that would be the case. So I just never really put in the intensity into my training that I thought At the time, I thought I was doing it right, and then looking back now, it was just like ridiculous. Like I still consider myself now kind of a newbie,
Yeah.
just based on the fact that I am now training with an intensity that I've never trained with before.
Yeah.
And then yeah, the food is obviously something we'll come on to it in a bit, I guess. But yeah, that's just another thing that I was just woeful at looking back. I was just pathetic with my food.
Yeah.
I think we've both probably been guilty of that in some degree. But yeah, training wise, it's just a case of I tried every single system. I would be like, oh, I need to do this 5x5 to get strong, and that's going to get me big. And then I need to do, and I used to plan
Is it
out.
that program called the Big and Strong one?
It might be, yeah. And I used to write out all these programs and think that every 4 weeks I had to change it up. And I literally spend hours writing these training programs thinking that they were absolutely amazing. And I'd read these the articles by people like Jim Wendler, who would just be like, just squat, just drink a gallon of milk, you'll be fine. And I used to read them being like, oh no, that's just going to get me fat. That's just stupid.
Turns out you know what he's doing.
Yeah, now looking back, I'm like, if only I'd have done that. If only I'd have done that, I'd be all right.
Yeah. I've got like one of Jim Wendler's like first ever bodybuilding encyclopedia. I might actually go back through that and see what I would still do now. What is good practice? Like back then when, there was very, very limited research at all. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what methods he would apply really in to kind of get into grips with that. That'd be good. I might even do a video walkthrough on it. That could be good. Book review 20 years later.
That's it. Yeah, still relevant.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good though, isn't it? Really. But I mean, I'm the same. Like I spent years throughout my whole early 20s. God, I sound old using that phrase. Back in my early 20s. And essentially spending every week in a calorie deficit dieting for a photo shoot, or a casting or whatever I had to do for the latest, job that I was working on. So, yeah, I missed out on a huge proportion of training age where I should have been in a calorie surplus. But back then you don't know, and obviously I had to use my modelling work to make ends meet, so couldn't really do much about that. But hey ho.
Yeah, I think that's exactly where the where the difference is. I think is that I don't think, looking back, my training was appalling. It's just that my nutrition was appalling, and I think if I was eating the way I'm eating now, back the way I was training, I probably would have been all right. I'd have made some kind of progress. Yeah. But the one thing I've learned from this whole time is that it is your nutrition at the end of the day that is making the difference. Because I've seen.
And then also, not only that though, it is that, like you sort of said, like you've never trained to this intensity. It's being able to improve that intensity, isn't it? Yeah, by all means, you probably came in the same as I. Probably started off training okay to see some results, but nutrition wasn't there, and therefore we never really progressed the intensity up either. So both plateaued to an extent, didn't they?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I just think I would have got results doing the training I was doing if I was eating right. But but the way I'm training now, without a doubt, would be a step up from that anyway. It just feels like this is the first year. Like this is why I'm really excited for this off season. It's the first year that I've had my training and my nutrition both, from what I know, my experience and my knowledge, to be as perfect as they can be. Yeah. And that's why it's quite exciting, and why I need to take a year off and not just kind of diet again. Is that I feel like I've made good progress already, and I've only got another 9 months to go, which seems crazy when you think three months has gone by already. But making those changes, and I'm just hoping that I get the newbie gains in a sense, because I'm just kind of doing it the right way this time, in terms of my nutrition. And I've always been someone who, what I used to do is I used to just eat to hunger, and I used to never push myself past that point. And I used this with a client the other day. I talked to him and I just said, just as when you're dieting, you have to stop yourself from eating because you're hungry. When you're trying to gain size, you have to make yourself eat even when you're not hungry. It's the exact kind of same principle, in that you have to push your body into a surplus, because that's how you're going to grow the optimal amount of tissue. You will grow, obviously, in a slight deficit or at maintenance, but not at the optimum amount.
It's more because, essentially, even if there's no more rate of gain, it's actually it helps reduce the amount of loss each day, doesn't it, that you'll go through, essentially. So net is going to be higher over the week. So you will inevitably gain more, but you're actually gaining the same, but retaining a lot more, right? Because of, we're going to prevent muscle protein breakdown with the abundance of calories that you've got.
Yeah, definitely. That's the huge aspect, and that's where I think I'm getting more in tune with things like having a protein shake before I go to bed, and making sure I start thinking about those kind of things. Because yeah, for most people, general population, don't worry about it. It's not important for you. It's really not going to make a difference at the stage that some people are at. But like I say, for us trying to get those last little things out, then yeah, being anabolic or having enough protein in at the right times is important.
I don't know. Sometimes, like I said to you only last week. Within the evidence-based movement, I think sometimes it can lose its what's the word? It can lose the whole point of why you're doing it, right? Like even if someone was, let's say, new to training, let's say they're 21 years old and they're lifting weights 4 times a week. And generally, we would say to them, look, providing you're getting enough calories and protein, you're golden, right? Don't worry too much about meal timing and all that kind of stuff. But there's also nothing wrong with that person being passionate and going, this is what I do. I want to, I want the most, I want to optimize it. So I want to have maybe a shake post-workout, or I want to have that protein feeding before I go to bed. And I want to take omega-3 supplements and creatine. And yeah, they're not needed. But if it's that person's identity and that's what they're really passionate about, I think go for it. Go for it while you can do it. While you're passionate about it, keep doing it. For me, I've got not a problem with that. But it's when it gets really, really just.
I think that's what we do.
Do you know what I mean? To try and optimize it.
Yeah, and just because one time not having protein straight after your workout doesn't make an issue, doesn't sort of create an issue for you. It doesn't mean that doing that every day for the rest of your life isn't optimal. And I think that again, sometimes with evidence-based practice, people push the boundaries too far of it, and and it's just like as with anything in fitness, the pendulum swings one way or the other. That it never settles in the middle, and that's our job, is to make sure that we settle it in the middle for people. But like me and you both do that post workout. Now we have a shake, and you could argue even when you're gaining, it's even less important to get that in, and when you're dieting, it's more important. But we're like, well, no, let's say we only get 0.1% advantage from doing this.
Yep.
Well, we've got 4-5 sessions a week for the next 52 weeks until we diet again.
Yep.
Well, that 0.1% might add up to us having a difference between looking a little bit bigger than we might be when you get when you lean down. And
or the difference between me coming first and second at my next show.
Exactly, and it's not maybe even less than that. Maybe even thinking a bit more about it might be the difference between you having to do one less cardio session a week when it comes to dieting because you have a bit more muscle tissue and a little bit less fat. It could be anything, and it's like these are the things that it's easy for people to sit there and go, oh, the average Joe who's 90 kilos wants to lose 5 kilos doesn't need to worry about it. Yeah, you're right, but at the same time, why would you waste their time? Why not say to them, actually, let's get you there a week quicker by doing it this way, if that's what you want to do, and you want these practicalities, you want these principles put in place that makes you feel that you're actually owning this and you're actually in charge and you're making the decision to be the best you can be. That's quite empowering for some people.
Yeah, exactly. I actually think if I was 21 or even 18 or something like that, new to lifting and training and nutrition, and someone said to me, look, mate, put the protein shake down. You don't need that. You don't need it post-workout. And I'm like, yeah, but, I've got to get it in straight out of my workout. I would rather someone turn around to me and go, look, that's great. That's great what you're doing. By all means doing it. This is the reason why you're doing it. And you could do this, but what you're doing is probably more optimal over the long term, as we've just sort of alluded to. Keep doing it. I'm going to be like, yeah, now I know why I actually do it. Rather than someone going, you don't need to do that, mate. You're wasting your time and your money. Straight away, I'm going to be like, you just took the wind out of my sails, I probably just hit up a big pump session on my guns, and now you're saying I don't need my protein shake. And I'm going to be like, are you an idiot? Because I'm getting my protein in. And I think for us, it's like, I want to empower people to do that. And, while someone is passionate, really going for it, in embedding like bodybuilding and all that kind of stuff, part of their lifestyle, and I think that's the way to do it, really. But providing you obviously give them that about backing, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I think I think because calories are talked about in the sense of like as long as you hit your daily amount or weekly amount, then it's okay. I think protein does seem to be kind of thrown in with that, and like it's a bit more complex than that with protein in terms of muscle building, in terms of retention, and that I'm a firm believer that I would much rather be in the camp of I would rather all my clients had 4 to 5 protein servings split evenly through the day than in the camp of I don't care, just hit your daily protein number.
Yeah.
If I had to pick one, if I had to hang my hat on one, and that's just because we know that protein synthesis and we know protein breakdown and we know nitrogen balance and all, the amount and the rate at which amino acids enter and leave the body, that you do need a regular intake, that they can't just be stored like carbs and fats. And I think that's one thing from that I did from the beginning that I still do now, and that I still, even though we've kind of gone with, actually you probably could just eat this through the day and you'd be okay, I've always been along the lines of no, but still try and get a protein serving in, even if you have half your carbs and fats for breakfast and half your carbs and fats before bed. I don't care, as long as you have 3 protein servings through the day as well.
Yeah.
And I know Emil won't mind me saying this, but I know he's a big advocate of that as well. I think he fasts a lot and he skips meals, but he still gets his protein in because, again, he wants to retain that muscle he's got. It looks good and there's a lot of it. And it's really, really important aspect, I think, of dieting and of body composition, is that why would you risk even if it is 0.5% chance of losing some kind of muscle, why would you bother risking it if you don't have to?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like I'm not saying go out there and buy all the latest fancy supplements and all that kind of stuff, but a whey protein powder isn't going to set someone back that much. When you look at cost per gram of protein,
it's still the cheapest by a mile, isn't it?
It's very cheap, yeah. It's up there with, turkey mince, which is pretty cheap. So for a protein source, whey's pretty cost effective. It tastes all right, so yeah, I think why not do that? And why not take those advantages of having more meals, even if they are just protein, spread across the day, so that we can spike muscle protein synthesis more regularly, and providing that they hit the threshold, right? Because we don't want to constantly, like, I think some schools have thought that, okay, just drink BCAAs all day, basically, and just keep a trickle of protein coming in all day, but that doesn't quite work as effectively. You would think it would, but it doesn't, unfortunately.
No.
And it is essentially a case of having these like bouts across the day, really, isn't it? If you can get one when you wake up, whatever time that is, then fantastic. In kind of what we want to be aiming for, I normally recommend is 3 to 5 grams of leucine within that meal, depending on the person, which normally works out to about 25 to 40 grams of actual like leucine-rich protein source. So like your chicken, your fish, beef, like main and whey, sort of big protein sources like that, eggs. And if you can have that then 4 to 6 meals a day, then yeah, you're probably going to be on point if you leave it a good 3 to 5 hours between each meal.
Yeah, I just think in a bulking phase or in a phase where you're trying to gain some muscle, I just think that it's just vital. I just think again, it comes back to the whole thing of the accumulative effect of over the course of the year. Let's say that you only have 3 portions of protein a day or 4 portions of protein a day for a whole year, when you could have potentially had 5 or 6. Like there's no way of quantifying it. There never will be ever in as long as we live. But it'd be interesting to know if you had 2 twins and you gave them exactly the same things, exactly the same time, what that difference might look like over the course of a year. Because I would hypothesize it would be measurable. It would be, you visibly see it. And obviously a year's a long time, but we're talking about what you do consistently 80, 90% of the time. The odd day here and there isn't a problem. But you've got to be, in my opinion, looking for the optimum, looking for what you can do physically. And there's days that I can't fit 5, 6 in a day, but most days I find 6 out of 7 days I'm on it and I can do it. And again, it's the habits. It's what you do most of the time that I find works the best. And that's the thing that I kind of try and drill into my clients, really, is it's finding your habit and finding what you can do. And if clients come to me and say, well, I can eat 2 times a day, then it's like, okay, well, It's fine, exactly. It's not a problem because it's your life.
Yeah.
But a lot of people come to us and like, yeah, I know that. But what's the optimum? What's the best? Like, I want to do the best. I'll do whatever it takes. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, people are often afraid to tell them.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, it doesn't really matter. It does matter to you because you want the best. You're trying to be the best you can be.
And I think as well, this is when having that knowledge of things like muscle protein synthesis, knowing like the leucine content within food, can be really helpful. So that essentially, I had a client last year that I prepped. He had to go particularly low calories, particularly low, and basically what we did was we kept slashing his protein to at the end, basically, but set him on literally the minimum amount of protein per meal over 4 meals, so that we could maximize muscle protein synthesis within that allotted calories. So rather than him just eating cod in broccoli all day, which I've done for 5 days at a time, it wasn't
Tasty.
It wasn't nice. Well, 6 days, and I used to have a day off. But yeah, it's not nice. So rather than having to go to the extremity of that, which is like, I think it's under like 20 grams of carbs or something. I think it's like 9 grams of fat and 200 grams of protein if you're just on cod in broccoli. But anyway, that's not fun. So essentially, I was able to bring down calories, maintain frequent feedings of muscle protein synthesis with him, providing that his nutrient timing was there, which it was, because he was that type of client that was on the ball, been with me for a long time. So then we could, rather than those calories could probably be used, for a little bit more fats, for a little bit more carbs, and that just helped him get through the prep without binging, essentially, because he had a little bit more satiety in there from those other foods that he was craving. But we're still making sure that he was hitting protein on a regular basis to the required amounts.
And that's where like the evidence-based practice combined with what traditional bodybuilding is or has been is useful, because where most people would say to him, right, you have to eat this meal at 12 o'clock, then at 2 o'clock, then at 4 o'clock. You've just said to him, well, look, you've got to split it roughly by this amount of time period.
Yeah.
I know you're going to be on the ball with things. As long as it's between 12 and 1, maybe, giving him an hour window. And as long as it's roughly between there, that's great. And, the next one then is between then 3 to 4. It's not as strict, but at the same time, you have to learn, you have to take the science and apply it to this world and this bodybuilding practical application.
But sometimes, with this guy, he had a general, regular kind of office job. So breakfast was around 7 to 8. Lunch was between 12 and 1. He would eat after work 4 to 5. Go to the gym, get home, eat another meal. Like, that was set for him already. So meal timing was, set by his working hours. Yeah. Brilliant. Absolutely perfect. So that kind of...
And that's kind of what we get now, right? Is even in off season, like, I Monday through Friday eat pretty much the same things, like, because I wake up at the same time, I start work, we go train at the same time, I have my own social things I do, like my cricket or whatever, and I have to eat around those times, and it's pretty much set in stone for the week ahead. I'm like, I can tell you now what's in my fridge and what I'm probably going to be eating, and the weekends is when I get my flexibility.
Tell us, Dan, what's in your fridge?
Well, do you want me to just run through what I normally eat in a day?
Give us
probably
a regular
easier.
day. Yeah, I think people will be interested in that.
So first thing in the morning, I just have a protein shake. Like as soon as I get up, I have a protein shake. Just because chocolate. I'm on a bit of a chocolate one at the moment.
No. You like me, you use it until you get sick of it and then you move on to something else?
Yeah, so I used to have vanilla a lot, and then now I'm on chocolate. But I do stick with the same kind of brand. I've not really moved away from them. I find the best one. I still haven't found a good one other than them, so I stick with them. And then I have a fruit smoothie. So I just blend mango, tropical fruits, and then fruit juice in a NutriBullet. It's about 60-70 grams of carbs, and I drink that. So that's breakfast, really. That's it. Because, and again, the reason I do that is I'm just not hungry in the morning when I get up. I have to have liquid-based food, otherwise I can't do it. I've tried oats. I've tried other meats in the morning, just doesn't work for me. It just has to be a shake. It's the easiest thing for me to get in. So I do that. And then around 11, 11:30, no, 10, 10:30, 11, around that mid-morning time, I usually have a decent sized bowl of cereal and some jerky, maybe, or a carb killer bar.
Right.
Um, Again, just because I'm really not hungry, I need something that's going to fuel me for training because we train at like 2 o'clock, half two. Need to get my carbs in. I'm on 500 grams of carbs a day, so it's pretty tough on a training day trying to fit them all in.
So
Then,
that's 2,000 calories from just carbohydrates alone, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. And then for lunch, I'll probably have like ravioli pasta, like filled pasta. Usually go like cheese, something like that. So in my morning shake as well, I also have spinach because I realised there's no veg in this, and I remembered why. It's because I tend to stick it in that. So I tend to just have pasta, and I'll have some chicken with that. Nothing crazy really. Again, very easy to eat. I might add a little bit of butter to it. Then during training, I'll have carbs when we train. After training, I'll have a protein shake. Then I get in and have my main dinner with Laura and the baby. So again, it just depends what we're having that day. Tonight we've got lasagna. Most nights, we're actually recently the last 2 weeks have been really boring. Just had chicken, rice, and veg.
Nice.
Again, because it's a way of me to get nearly sort of 100 grams of carbs in without chowing through a huge meal.
Yeah.
Because rice is quite easy to eat. Plain chicken, marinated with herbs and spices, nothing spectacular about it. And then some stir-fry veg. And what you tend to do is I have like 3/4 of the rice. She has 3/4 of the veg. I have a quarter of the veg. She has a quarter of the rice. Because I just don't need to get that much veg at the moment. It's just not pleasant for me eating it. And then before bed, or like in the evening time, I'll have either ice cream or peanut butter and jam on toast.
I've been hitting that up recently.
Yeah, real good that is. And then a protein shake before bed, and it just works for me because I'm one of these people that I'm not prepared to waste this year like I've wasted the years before. So although looking at that, people might say, oh, there's not a lot of really healthy food in there. Like, quote unquote, what is healthy, but whatever, single ingredient whole food. And my argument for that is that if I did that, I would never hit my calorie target ever. I would be 700 calories short every single day because I just can't eat it. Yeah, I just can't eat it. I've tried it. Believe me, I've tried eating rice every meal. I've tried having oats in the morning. I get sick of it and I just don't eat it. Now, am I going to waste my whole year under eating by 700, 1,000 calories and not gaining muscle? Or am I going to enjoy the time in my off season when I can eat these foods? And I'm still calorie counting. Like, I'm not going crazy with them. I'm not sitting here eating, eating cereal out of a washing up bowl like that big. It is just a bowl of cereal. And it's one of those where I don't want to look back and regret and be like, oh, I could have gained a bit of muscle. I'd rather be in that position where I've hit my calorie targets, I've got the muscle, and then when I diet for 40 weeks, like we just worked out I might need to diet for, I probably won't be eating cereal because I'm just not going to be able to touch that amount of carbs. So there's nothing wrong with it right now. And for someone that's trying to gain size who really finds it difficult, I have no problem doing that.
Yeah.
I've learned that. I've learned the hard way. So when I recommend that to my clients, I'm saying to them, look, believe me, I've learned the hard way. Like, I've tried doing what you're thinking of doing. It's really, really hard.
Yeah, like with, if someone was to look at that and go, oh, it's not very healthy because you don't have quote-unquote healthy foods in there, you still do, but you're having like a foundation of good food, right? So you've got veggies in your lunch, your main meal, and your breakfast, right? You've got good sources of protein across the day. So your fundamentals are there. And then the extra ice cream cereal that you mentioned, that we might quote bad or not great food, whatever you want to pigeonhole it to be, right? We would probably just say it's not single ingredient food, right? Because it's a little bit of a clearer distinction there. So yeah, that might be to some people unhealthy, but you still got it all in there. So even if you took it out, you're still not going to really eat much more of anything else. So your health for micronutrients isn't really going to change all that much. The only thing it might impact your health by is if you continue to do that for such a long period of time without any sort of training, where you gained a lot of body fat and became morbidly obese, then yeah, that might start affecting your health, right? Because you'll be in a calorie surplus for a long extended period of time, and we know that can lead to potentially worse health markers. So there's no problem with that at all, really, and that's exactly it. Like, I had a client say to me, "I'm struggling to hit my carbs. You know, can I have a bag of Haribo?" I was like, "Yeah." "How big is it?" He's like, "Oh, about 50 grams." I'm like, "Yeah, that's like 40 grams of carbs. Fine." You know, if it was, "Can I fill my entire day of Haribo?" Or I'm in prep and calories are minimal and I hate eating veg, so can I just eat Haribo instead?
Yeah.
It's about the context, isn't it? I suppose in that situation.
That's it, exactly. It comes down to as well, like just the personality type of the person. Because again, it's one of those where I just wouldn't eat it. Like I just couldn't do it. And I've like I said, I've been there, I've tried it, and there are other people, and even like within Team Box, there are coaches who still have to now, even when they're trying to gain size, be a little bit smarter with their food intake, because if they didn't, they would just eat bowls and bowls of cereal all day, which again, some people would. Like they just don't have that switch. And like you said, for us, it's the opposite way. It's actually like I can't bother to eat again today. Like I'm looking today, right? It's, what is it? It's 5 p.m. Let me just quickly go on. I've still got left to eat today 1,400 calories. And there's only 5 hours left in the day. And that's because at the weekend, I'll just be a bit more like, oh, I'll eat this, I'll just go and grab this, I'll grab this. And before I know it, and bearing in mind today, I take 400 calories less than a training day because it's a rest day.
Right.
So if this was a training day, I'd be having like 1,800, 1,700 calories left.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of the situation, is that for me to grow, I have to get those calories in.
Yeah.
And how I do that is kind of like, well, I've got my, like you said, bases covered. I've got enough micronutrients going in. I've got enough fiber in my diet. My protein's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to go forward from this point, because if I was dieting right now, the 1,700 calories that I'm eating extra will be taken away. So I just take them all out, which is the cereal, the ice cream, the fruit smoothie. And actually my base diet then is chicken, rice, pasta, veg, chicken, and some whey. Like that's pretty much a normal kind of cutting diet, right? So that's where I think some people kind of lose or miss the wood for the trees, is that sometimes you have to think, okay, well, my basic diet of my 2,000 calories that I eat, even when I'm dieting, looks the same. What I add on top of that is kind of like up to me in a way of just getting those calories in. And some people like to do it eating their single ingredient whole foods and eating, their bags of sweet potato, which is great. I personally just couldn't do it. It would just ruin me.
Yeah. No,
and I know you're the same.
Yeah, like for me at the minute, literally for the last, pretty much since end of November, early December, I've been kind of eating what I want, when I want, really. I haven't really worried too much about calories or macros. I've just been focusing on getting some decent servings of protein in, making sure I'm not really losing any weight. But, I know that when I have a couple of days of, let's say, poor choice food with minimal single ingredient food, I can feel it. And then the next day I'm like, right, Steve, get the veg back in. What have you been doing? I have a little word with myself and I'm back on point. I started tracking today. This will be day 1 of my tracking. Because I've found, I wanted to do a self-experiment to see, could I eat ad libitum and find out where my calorie maintenance was based on where my hunger signals were, because it's been a long time for me to do that. So I was like, let's do it, because then I'll be able to help people who want to come out of essentially tracking macros, calories, or even dieting, because I think there is certainly a opportunity there that, some people don't want to track macros for the rest of their life, and that's fine. So if I know how to help them, then that's great. Whether I choose to or don't is up to me. So it's kind of like, in a way, I needed to go back to, because I think for so long I've been so far removed from what might be normal in terms of a regular potential eating habits. I wanted to get back there and find out, could I just eat when I'm hungry, and to see what my weight would do. And lo and behold, my weight hasn't really moved. It's fluctuated a little bit. Have I maximised that period? No. Did I want to? Didn't really care too much, if I'm honest. So it hasn't been a problem, but I've still been getting stronger. My weights are going up in the gym. But that's just because I'm an optimistic, unrealistic, right?
Yeah. I've done it with clients before a couple of times as kind of a bit of a test, where you know, as long as you just tell them what you're doing and you explain to them, then that's fine. Is just say, look, okay, take this week. Don't want you to track your food. Just eat what you want. You know, still get your protein in and stick to your diet predominantly, but let's just kind of just track your body weight every day and let's see where it is. And if they come back and they are messaging me 4 days later, like, oh, I'm stressing out, my weight's going up, I don't really know what's going on. Then in my mind, there's two things that could be going on. One of them is that they don't really know yet portion sizes. And really understand the port. They're just going all by what's on MyFitnessPal, in which case they need to learn a bit more about maybe using plates as a gauge for size of the thing, whatever. But then the other thing is that they, again, haven't maybe been through long enough coaching to understand that their weight can fluctuate, you know, strangely through these times and it doesn't really matter, and actually your hunger hormones kind of level out, and that you will have these spikes in eating and weight, but then they'll come down again because you just naturally eat
as well. For some people that are serial dieters, whatever method they're using, right? When you go on a diet, there's always an element of control, whether you're directly controlling calories and therefore, like, we control macronutrients, which therefore controls calories, right? You know, if someone's on a paleo diet where they're not eating certain foods, essentially they're restricting calories. If you're only eating carbs after your training in the evening, then you're restricting calories in the day through not eating carbohydrates. If you're on the Atkins diet and you're not eating carbs, you're restricting calories. So whatever diet you've been on, it restricts calories, right? So I think actually going back to intuitively eating and finding out if you're able to eat to hunger teaches you whether you're able to actually do that in terms of, so, and I mean to then diet for the long term, because what I'm trying to get at is, if you've got a mentality that goes, okay, so I'm off the diet now, I'm not tracking, therefore I'm going to eat whatever and essentially binge all day, because you're not used to intuitively eating. Whereas someone, like, if let's say over the next 9 months or a year, I track my food every single day apart from one, am I going to go bananas on that one day? No, I'm not, because actually I've got good habits now, which I've been learning about, to reconfirm that I'm able to not track for a day or not stick on my diet, but I'm also not going to blow it, because I'll just eat to my hunger signals or what they might be at that time, and I'll roughly eat around maintenance or in a slight surplus, not in a massive surplus, because I'm not going to binge. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And that's where I think, like, if I was to eat intuitively for 2-3 months, I would just weigh the same at the end of it. I pretty much guarantee it. Just kind of, like you said, I'm the same as you. I'd be doing the same thing. And I think that a lot of people, once they've been through, like you say, a period of dieting, or certainly through a period of coaching, maybe not dieting, but coaching, they certainly come out the other side of it and they eat intuitively and they kind of get it. They're like, okay, well, I now know what an avocado is 250 calories. I now know this piece of chicken breast is roughly 40 grams of protein. Like, that's the whole benefit of coaching, is that they understand now. Like you've always said, it's like once you've seen the Matrix, you can't unsee it. You kind of know it now. You're kind of like, well, I've seen this food on the plate, what it looks like. They know if they go out for a huge pizza and chips and a couple of beers, that the next 2 days they should probably stick to, you know, a little bit smaller portions. Like, most people after coaching get that. But when you're trying to either gain or cut, for me, that's when you can't do that. Like, and that's where I think most people get it wrong with trying to gain, is that everyone knows when you're trying to lose weight that tracking calories or macros is a very, very useful way of keeping yourself on track and keeping yourself disciplined. But when you're trying to gain, people just assume that they can, for whatever reason, do it intuitively. And it goes both ways, both in terms of they either eat too much, like some people we know would just go off the rails, and they would just get fat and they would kid themselves into thinking they're gaining muscle. And then there's those like me and you who just wouldn't gain anything. We would just train, feel like we're getting a bit stronger, and like, oh, if we're getting stronger, we must be getting bigger. And actually, we're not. We just think we are. We're tricking ourselves into looking in the mirror and thinking we are. And that's where, for me, I still have to track diligently, or fairly diligently, in when I'm trying to gain size, because if I'm looking at the scales and going, right, I'm only gaining 0.1, 0.2 kilos a week, then probably need to up things a little bit. And that's where I've been at, is kind of like I've found it really hard mentally to push that up and keep eating more.
So for people listening then, and if this is, I know the answer to this question is a really difficult one, but I'm going to put you on the spot anyway. If you knew roughly where your maintenance calories were at, And if someone wants to work that out, all they would need to do is track their food as accurately as they can, track their body weight for a couple of weeks, and see if it's about the same, then you know you're thereabouts with your average intake. And this was something that we did on the previous group coaching program that I ran. So there is going to be another group coaching while I think about it, and we're going to run that in April, aren't we? So
Yeah.
if you're interested in finding out about group coaching, with some general guidelines, practical tips, story time with Steve, quiz the coaches, basically, group coaching. So it's not bespoke to you, but I'm going to teach you, or we're going to teach you how to do it for yourself, essentially. Then if you head over to our website and subscribe to our emails, you'll get a pop-up which says download our ebook. If you subscribe to that, we give you emails 3 times a week, and they're just tips on ways and things that you can implement into your diet or nutritional training. But we also give you special offers in there, chances to win stuff, discount codes, and also you get exclusive access and early bird access to anything that we run. So the group coaching that we do will be ran through that. And we had 130 people on that last time, didn't we? But yeah, essentially I taught them how to find their maintenance, and then we implemented a diet for 2 weeks, and some of them got amazing results. But so once you found your maintenance, Dan, how much would you get someone to increase their calories by in order to see weight gain?
It is obviously very independent, because you can increase someone's calories and naturally they increase their NEAT. So they'll naturally move around a bit more.
Okay.
They'll naturally fidget and all that sort of stuff more. So it is very much a case of you add some, see how it's gone, add some more, see how it's gone. Now,
so what, 200 calories would you put in more?
I'd probably go a little bit higher than that. I go nearer the sort of 300, 400 mark.
Okay.
If it's a guy, I tend to go the higher end, and if it's a female, I'd go lower end, just because it's easier to get that across. And I generally start with, say, 400 calories on average a day, and how that's split up, it depends on whether they prefer more on a training day, a rest day, all that sort of stuff, blah, blah, blah. But so let's say the 400 calorie increase in calories, and then you only start seeing a 0.1, 0.2 kilo increase on the scales. Probably a bit too slow for most people. They probably are increasing their NEAT. They probably are, even if their steps aren't moving, they probably are just more active. They move their hands around a bit more. They're probably warmer. All this sort of stuff that does happen when you kind of eat more food. And you would then go, and again, it's not a lot, but even an extra 100 calories a day on top of that, you might start seeing them go from 0.2 to 0.3 kilos a week increase. And for most people, I actually work off a percentage rather than an actual absolute amount. So it's roughly anywhere between 0.5 to 1% body weight increase per week, depending on how aggressively they want to try and gain. But using myself as an example, I started off trying to gain on 3,000 calories a day, wasn't doing anything, went up to 3,200, went up a little bit, and I just thought to myself, screw this, I'm not being that guy again, and I went straight up to 3,700 on training days, and I'm now gaining about 0.5 to 0.6 kilos, 0.7 some weeks a week. Which I'm happy with. Like, I know I'm getting a bit fatter, but I'm kind of using that as a safety net of going, well, I know that I'm probably about right with my calories. Maybe for most people, they might fear it's a little bit too high, but again, I've never been this place before, so I'm happy just pushing on through it. And it does depend as well on the training status of some people, because some people, you can put them on maintenance calories and they gain some size, they lose a little bit of fat for whatever reason. Like they're just very new to the gym. They get this great kind of initial burst in muscle growth. You can even do that in a deficit. So what used to be what you think their maintenance might be could now be them in a deficit. So that's why they go that way. So the whole thing of, gaining muscle, losing fat at the same time, it can happen with certain populations of people. But for us at the moment, it's a case of you either gaining or you're losing. Like, we're not in a position to do that, unfortunately. Ideal world, that'd be brilliant. But it is just a case of going, right, I want to gain roughly, for me, 0.5 to 0.7 kilos a week. And as we worked out the other day, that puts me quite heavy come December. But we'll see how that goes, and how much sort of fat I gain. But that's all just predicted on numbers and formulas. It very much depends, right, as well, on how things are going.
Like, to be honest, I'm just aiming at the moment for 3,000 calories, and then I'm going to go from there, see what happens. But yeah, that for me puts me on, at the moment, getting back to tracking, 250 grams of protein a day, 350 carbs, and then around 65 fats. I'll probably fluctuate my fats a little bit more depending on preference. So if I go over my calories, it'll probably be on fats, to be honest, that day. But yeah, that's kind of me for now, and then we're going to build that up nice and slowly. But yeah, I mean, I'm just going to see what my body weight does around 3,000 calories. I reckon that's around maintenance for me. If weight's stable in a week, then I'll chuck on some more, maybe put in an extra 500, then an extra 500 after that, get up to 4,000, and see how things go. But I think there's that kind of misconception that you can lean bulk, where, and I kind of get what someone means when they say I want to lean bulk. It essentially means they want to gain some muscle mass, but it's just going to take you longer to do it if you're not pushing the calories right up. So yeah, you can gain muscle with also gaining a minimal amount of body fat. But I think when some people go, they want to do a lean bulk, it's like they're using it as this kind of, unfortunately, this magical unicorn where they're going to gain all the size. But
yeah, if you try and gain the max amount of muscle you can, but put on zero body fat, you're never going to do it. Just give up now. Like, I just don't think it's realistic. Like, you're always going to gain something. And my view of it is, rather than gain a minimal amount of fat and then put on a decent amount of muscle, I'd rather put on the max amount of muscle and a moderate amount of fat and have to lose it. Just me personally, where I'm at the moment. Obviously, some people are different, but
yeah, I'm a person who finds it very, very easy to diet. I can hold a diet. Like my dieting performance, if you were to bracket it under performance, is good, like real good. So yeah, I can do a very, very long prep. If someone said to me, "You got to prep for 2 years," I'd be like, "Fine, I'll do it." And I think you're probably the same. Whereas someone else who hates dieting, hates being hungry, they might have to do a slightly longer off season, not gain that much tissue, both fat and muscle, because they don't want to basically diet for that long or aggressively. So I think it is literally about knowing who you are, knowing what you're able to do. And that's why practice runs are always good, aren't they, before you just try and go for it. And when someone comes to me for the first time for prep, I love it when they go, "Okay, I don't have a time frame, I'll compete with you whenever you feel like it's best," because then we can trial some things out, see how well they're going to adapt. And it's not about their body really adapting, it's about them, about their preference and context. Anyway, let's leave it there, mate. That's 50 minutes long. But
we can ramble.
Yeah, we certainly did. And I think that was good. I think we covered some good bits about nutrition there. Both, sharing some of our personal stuff at the moment. We can probably keep people updated in a couple of months, see how things are going. And then we can also maybe talk about training a little bit more as well. And I didn't want to get into that too much today because I've got some really cool guests coming on, hopefully, who will talk more about training.
Cooler than me?
Definitely cooler than you, yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
They don't play cricket for a start.
I bet they're probably bigger than me as well, so they know more about training straight away. So
yeah,
that's all right.
So yeah, that'll be interesting to get their opinions. So I'll let the listeners guess who they might be. Anyway. Guys, I'll see you next week. And again, I'm going to apologise why this is coming out a few days later. Essentially, last week my internet went down, and then I had a very stern word with BT, and then we've got a new router, so I'm back in action, but we're a little bit late. So apologies about that. Anyway, Dan, have a lovely Sunday afternoon. And
Will do.
I'll see you tomorrow morning anyway, bright and early as normal.
Catch you later.
See you later, Dan.